Hi, my name is Barrington Miller. I'm Director of Issuer Engagement at the Canadian Securities Exchange. And today we have a special program where we're talking a little bit about Black History Month, and in particular, some of the people involved in the corporate landscape within Toronto. And I'm here with newly appointed CEO Dexter John with Morrow Sodali. And I say newly appointed as he is not new at being a CEO, but new at being a CEO with Morrow Sodali, which covers across Canada. Now, Morrow Sodali does some M&A advisory, corporate governance, and all types of those things, but we're not really going to get into that. What we are going to get into is what is it like being Black on Bay Street, and what is the journey? And when I say Bay Street, it's not just Bay. It's how it's from one coast to the other. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Mr. Dexter John. Dexter, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Barrington. Looking forward to having an engaging conversation.
Yes, as am I. Can you, before we really get into it, just to inform our audience, can you tell us just a little bit about your background and where you're from?
Sure. Born in Montreal, but my family's from a small island in the West Indies called St. Vincent. I grew up in a single-parent home in Scarborough. I am now, I live in Whitby now. I'm married for, I guess, it'll be 27 years in May, with two kids. A boy, DeAndre, turned 26 yesterday, and a daughter, Jasmine, 22, in her last year at university at Dalhousie.
Well, thanks for that, Dexter, and big hugs to the family. But we're gonna get into it. Like, do you ever just get tired of air quotes the burden, and the burden is of having to explain, and or people turning to you? Like, for me personally, I don't get tired of it. Like, I want to do it. I'm glad to do it. And if people are asking and they're making the effort to learn or to enhance their knowledge or whatever, and I can help, then I'm going to do that, because I hope somebody would do it for me as well. But what you were saying is, for all the successes that you've done, like, you put in the time, you put in the work, you've done those things, and luck and opportunity and chance all combined in that sweet Bermuda Triangle of success. Yes, it is special. It is special here. It's special in Toronto. It's special in a metropolitan city such as Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal. Like, that's why it is special. It's not like, yes, I agree, you should be able to follow these things, and chances are you will be, but that's not necessarily the case, or hasn't been the case.
Yeah, no, and to go along that point, right? Like you, I have no problem taking time to speak to people who want to ask questions. I think we owe it to ourselves to play it forward, right? I've had people who laid the pavement in front of me that have come back to me, and my goal in life is to make sure I do the same for those that are following. I guess my struggles or my frustration at times, I said to you, is this that we it's sad to see at 2022, we still think it's a surprise when you see a Black man that's a CEO, or a black man that's doing well outside of the typical entertainment business, right? This is 2022. I mean, we've all put in our time. I mean, yes, you're looking at the professional schools. There's parity, there's equality, there's 50% women and men, gender, all that stuff. But yet, when someone achieves a certain goal or a standard or criteria, we still act surprised. And that to me is saddening. We shouldn't be acting surprised anymore. I understand it's hard work. I'm not saying that, trust me, I grew up in a single parent home. I don't want to say ghetto because there was no ghettos in Canada, but I lived in the hood, metro housing, whatever else, rats and roaches and all that type of stuff. But
Yeah.
guess what? I had an ambition, I had a desire, I wanted to do certain things in my life, and I just put my head down and got there. Yes, some opportunities presented itself, doors opened, I jumped through them, and here we are, right? But in the end of the day, if you take your career path in your own hands and you try to utilize the opportunities that are in front of you, I mean, when I went to school, I didn't have this. There was nobody telling me what a lawyer looks like. No one told me what you needed to do. All I knew back then was what my mom told me. Don't embarrass my last name. Don't go to jail.
Yep.
Don't get a girl pregnant.
Yeah,
Right? Those are
buddy,
the three
don't
rules.
steal, uh, don't do drugs, and don't get anybody pregnant.
Yeah,
And
that was
but
it.
my what my parents would tell me is like your starting line is different. Your starting line's different. So
Yeah,
run twice as hard, twice as
yes, right.
fast
You got to
to
work twice as hard. You got to do all that type of stuff, all those cliches. And you know what? Yeah, like I look back in my high school. I remember in grade 11, back in those days, we had grade 13. So grade 11, going into grade 12, going to my guidance counselor, and they're saying, "Hey, I want to talk about universities. Just want to understand what I need to do." And he looked at me. He's like, "Well, Dex, you're an athlete. You grew up in a single home. You're getting bus tickets from the school. Maybe university would be too expensive for you. Maybe you should join the army. They'll pay for your education." I was like, what the hell? I have an 80 average. What are you saying? So I said, you know what? No problem. Can I have my transcripts? He said, here. I said, have a nice day. I walked out, went to Lamoureux Collegiate, and enrolled the next day. Right? He had
yeah.
nothing. He had nothing to do to help me. And it's sad, right? Here, that story is just one. I hear millions of other stories
Oh,
where teachers and were position of influence did not help, did not promote you. They actually tried to put you down. I was lucky. I had a track coach at Lamb, Mr. Taylor Staton, at a high school grade 8 teacher named Michael Nicholson. Those two guys believed in me, and I still talk to them now. They're my mentors to an extent, and they were always at your Dex. You're a great athlete. You could be a sprinter. You can go to the States, but recognize you blow up your knee or nothing. Stay in the books. Focus on the books. That's the stuff that
yep.
meant something to me. So I was very fortunate to have those two men in my life at that time. Otherwise, who knows, right? I could have been doing other things that didn't work out in the way that they have.
That's we talk about there's so much to unpack and unravel here. And for our audience and our listeners, if you're just joining, I'm here with Dexter John. My name is Barrington Miller with the Canadian Securities Exchange, and this is a special episode just talking a little bit about being Black on Bay Street. And but Bay Street isn't just Bay Street, it's whatever street or whatever corporate Canada, corporate US, and some of the shared experiences, um, role models, particularly male role models, and sometimes they've been absent, unfortunately, and there's a whole history that we can get into as to why. But you had two really important ones, and I think where those crossroads are when you look back. Like, had you not had one or any of them, things would have turned out different. Like
And possibly.
100%. You
But I
just you
also
just never know.
had a very strong mother that made it very clear that if I'm not going to take stuff seriously, don't be living in this house. So
Yeah. School, my friends laugh, and I hope my friend Adam is listening to this. They're the three S's: school, sports, and social. Pick two, and school has to be one of them. That
yeah,
was it. So if you love sports, great. If you don't, you want to be social, then sure, go ahead. But either way, you're gonna hit school. Yeah, no, this is interesting. Let's go back. What was the light bulb? What was your aha moment to getting into business, getting into I guess corporate Canada? Because there had to be something.
it's hard to really say. I don't think there's an aha moment. I've always said I was going to do it, right? I mean, I remember in grade 12, they took us to a tour downtown, and I was on business class. I was taking in grade 12, and we went down to the Toronto Stock Exchange, and I saw the mayhem and all the noise, and I was like, wow, I want to work here. 5 years later, I worked there, right? While I was working there, I was thinking about my career and what I want to do in my life, and I was thinking about law school, and I met with a woman. I never forget her name. Never forget her name is Barbara Stymies. She used to be the I think the CEO of TMX at one point, as well as the chairwoman of the RBC. Anyhow, I met with her. She was still working at Nesbitt Burns, and she had no reason to meet with me, none whatsoever, but she decided to take out an hour of her time to talk to me about my career. And I remember her saying to me, don't go to law school, do your CFA, you'll make more money. And funny enough, I didn't listen to her. I went to law school, and I ran into her a few times, and I still talk to her to this day. And I always joke around saying, everything seemed to work out the path I wanted to take. But more importantly, she had no business talking to me. And again, luck, opportunities, maybe guidance from above, who knows? Those moments in time, as you look back at them, and whether they were there to direct me or not, it happened, and it had an influence. Working on the Toronto Stock Exchange trading floor, I was amongst these brokers that were making a crap load of money, having fun doing it, and then they would invite me to meetings with the CEO of banks. I'm 21, 22 years of age, in that room, seeing how those they move, and just
Right.
observing, being a sponge, right? So again, I always say to folks, I got very lucky at a young age for some of the opportunities that were given to me that allowed me to go down this path. So again, like I said, I have no problem in giving back, because if anything I have done to open a door for someone else, it's great. That's beautiful. But back to your original question, it's sad to see where we are still in this day and age, that we still feel surprised when we arrive. And I know, don't get me wrong, I know it's not easy for us to arrive, because we still live in an environment where people have preconceived opinions, or they
Oh,
don't think people
definitely.
deserve to be there, right? Like even when I went to law school, I remember, the first day we all had a social event, people were talking about their LSAT scores, and like, who does that? Like, what I mean? Like, why do you need to tell someone that you got this out of that? Makes you feel better, right? And the assumption was that, oh, the six black folks that were in our year at Queens was 150 students, six were black, and they all like, well, how did you get here? What did you do? Like they didn't at that point recognize that, what, we all deserve to be here. We are all smart. We all got great marks and did what we had to do to get to where we are. And for some people that was news to them. But as time progressed and you got to know each other and become friends, you know they're like, you're treated equally, and they believed you belonged in the room. But again, it took that time. Whereas if I was not black, I was already accepted. Now I
It
already was
wasn't,
in
it
that
wouldn't
room.
even be a question.
Exactly.
Um, yeah, I remember my first job out of university. And, I went to a really good school and got hired by a big firm in New York. And literally within the first week, like somebody's like, "Oh, are you part of the affirmative action program?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "I don't think so. I mean, went to Princeton and graduated with 90s, played sports. I think that might have something to do with it, but yeah, that was the first. But it's having to be asked that, like, it's like, why is that the first? That's the go-to. That there's something special that had to be done in order for you to be where you are, and not just the character of your grades and marks, or of your personality. Um, that's that hasn't changed. And do you see it changing? Like, you've become a CEO. Like, is this where the change happens? Do you feel that this is an anomaly? I mean, I hope to God not, but but how far have we really come?
That's a good question. I think we have a long way to go, my friend. To be honest with you, I don't think this is an anomaly in any sense of that, of the word. It's again, look, CEO, whatever, CFO, all those are just letters and titles. It's a job. I mean, I was a CEO of the previous company I was at. We just got bought by this company, and they made me the CEO of Canada. So again, in my case, it's the work has been done, the team has been created, the value is being delivered, and the reputation's on the street of what who I am and what my team is like. So when someone comes in and wants to make a purchase, they take all of that into consideration, and they recognize culture, fit, everything else. What does this person bring to the table? So, are there more people like me on the street? Absolutely. Are they getting the opportunities? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, I won't lie. Remember, in my case, was very unique. I was working at a company for 10 years, and I just got frustrated being owned by a hedge fund and not being able to grow the company I thought I could. So I broke off and created my
Right.
own company. So I created my own company. It was called Griffin at that point in time. And, like I said, in 2.5 years, we did so well that this, Morrow Sodali comes along and wants to buy us, right? So, I mean, I created my own first CEOship, so to speak, by having my own company, being an entrepreneur, doing my own thing. And then now I've proven myself that way. And now another company bought us, and, I continue to be the CEO. But, would that have happened if I stayed in the same role? Was there a path to the top? I didn't see it, right? But
Right.
at some point, we all got to make your own choices. And look, I'll be honest, like being a CEO, and I hate saying it like it's something special, but you have to make a choice, right? None of this stuff is easy. Like, bigger title, bigger responsibilities, and not everybody's cut out for it, right? Like they
No,
don't
for sure.
understand. Like like law school, people want to be a lawyer. Oh, I see what it looks like on TV. No, TV has nothing to do. It's not about dinners. Yo, you're putting in hours. Like my first year at Article, I worked 51 out of 52 weeks, right? Every day,
Yeah.
18 hours, right? People don't realize that. Ask my wife. I wasn't around half the time, right? But all that work became better as time progressed. But a lot of people, and I'm not being disrespectful when I say that, a lot of people don't understand that there's a sacrifice that comes along with wanting all that, so-called the holy grail.
Right. Being in the position that you are right now, um, what are you going to do to help foster the next uh, Dexter Johns or the next Barrington Millers? Like what yeah, what are you going to do? How? I mean, I understand that you're doing a show like this and you're talking about shared experiences and that, but um, there's more that we can do, and
Oh,
I guess
absolutely. And in my case, I think I'm not touting my horn, but I mean, I'm one of the founders of the Black Opportunity Fund. I'm involved with those guys. I'm involved with grassroots development of, people of color from the young ages. Like, I don't believe in jumping into the mix at age, when they're 18 and 19. I go to the public schools and start putting this
yeah,
stuff in their heads now, because guess what? That wasn't put in my head at an early age, right? So, I'm in a position where I can be able to use my platform to influence others. So I try my best to, talk to the youth of tomorrow, right? I mean, good, bad, and ugly, though, good areas, bad areas. You just got to go in there and talk, and you mentor. I have a few kids young adults that I mentor. I have, adults that I mentor, right? So it's trying to navigate the system and navigate how the playing field is not necessarily even, and how do you try to make it even on your front. And again, mentoring is one thing, and sponsorship is another thing, right? So, it's great
yeah.
to have a
Go into
mentor,
that.
but
Go into that.
you also
Yeah,
need someone to be your sponsor, someone to believe in you, and be able to help navigate in the organization, or help be your guardian angel. Without that, it's very difficult, right? Because you don't want to be coming off that you're too ambitious, or you're just trying to move up the ladder. Everything has to come natural, right? And again, there's nothing wrong saying, "Hey, I want your job" at some point in time. But are you going to stab someone in the back to get it? Like, I don't know. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I wouldn't do that. But ultimately, you got to have your own plan that you're comfortable in to achieve your goals. And if you realize, as I tell people, if you realize what you want to get cannot be achieved where you're at, you got to leave. And I think a lot of us don't do that. We get complacent, we get nervous. We've culturally and socially being trained to get that secure job and everything else. So when you
yep,
do all that, you get it, you achieve it, you think you've arrived, and okay, I got that pension or whatever else behind me, but you're not happy, right? So as I tell my kids, it's like, you can chase money, great. It's not going to make you happy. Chase your happiness, and the money will come.
absolutely. Find a job that ain't work and never work a day in your life, man.
Right.
It's true. It's really true. Um, I guess and thank you for taking the time. What's one piece of advice, because you're always learning lessons, and what's one advice that you would give the really really young Dexter John, um, about
Hmm.
the stuff that you've learned so far and your journey,
Oh, wow, that's a good question.
or a couple things, because it's
A
not
letter to
just
myself, so to speak. What would I have told the old Dex to do differently? Honestly, to be honest, it's not much. Like I don't. That sounds arrogant, but it's not.
no,
I just
because it doesn't sound arrogant, because all of the trials and tribulations and the journey
got me
has
here.
brought you here. So why
Exactly.
would you
So
want to do it different?
yeah,
Like,
exactly. Not much, right? I mean, yeah. I think maybe my second year of university, I should have taken it a little bit more seriously. Right? That might be about it, really. But yeah, no, I have nothing. There's no regrets in anything that I have done in my decisions. I mean, and I maybe I live that way by not having regrets. But I think of a young person, I would just say that the real key is, I would say is, and it sounds, again, this may not sound feasible, but the school education is greater than school. When I say that, I mean, we live in a North America, and if you're American, and any American listeners don't take offense to this, there is a world outside of the north of the 49th parallel, right? So I would say if you have an opportunity to travel, to do it. If you have those exchange programs, like maybe that's what I regret. They had so many exchange programs when I was in
Mhm.
public school, but I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm a jock. I'm an athlete. That's for the nerds or whatever else. That's how I thought. Not saying nerds is the appropriate word, but back then that's how we thought. But in hindsight, I wish I took those opportunities. I think travel allows you to see other cultures, allows you to see how other people live, lets you see how broad this world is. And it's something that when you get into an environment of a corporate environment, you can speak about, right? The one thing I remember, going into those early interviews as a lawyer is walking into these rooms, and people are talking about, oh, we were in France with my family doing this, that, in England. And you're sitting there like, oh shit, I haven't gone anywhere. But I was able to say, oh, guess what? Yeah, I was there too. Right?
Right.
My mom took me here. I did that. I did all these things. I through my track and field and football, I was able to travel here and there. So I was able to communicate about educate other things outside of the classroom that was educational that made me interesting. So I would say to anyone that's listening, if you can travel, try your best to travel. Do not think that places across the world is expensive. Like I always look at Africa, for example. People are like, oh, how do you go to Africa? It's so expensive. I'm like, no, Africa is cheaper than going to Vancouver from here, right? So do the
That I
research.
did not know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
People don't know it because they make the assumption, right? So again, there should be. I've always told myself and my kids, there's nothing that I can't do, and I will never say no to anything. So I will go and do the work before I let someone else tell me what the answer is. So as I said, someone's saying, "Oh, well, Africa's too expensive." I'm like, no, it's not. You go online and you'll find out. It's like if you do it now, $800, maybe $900. Vancouver, $800, $900. It's return, right?
What people don't realize is the what's expensive is the cost of not doing it.
Absolutely.
Now, final question: the future of Bay Street, the future of corporate uh, Canada. Where do you see it headed? Are we going in the right direction, or are we treading water?
What I will say is this: there is a massive group behind that has immense potential. I met a bunch of them, I know a bunch of them, and they're really going to make things happen. I just think that my concern is, will they be given the opportunity? And again, it's not an opportunity that they have to sit here and be for it to be given. It has to be an opportunity that they have to take. But at the same time, let the door, at least give them a door, open the door wider than it was for me, because you'll be surprised the talent that we have. And Bay Street has truly gotten much more colorful in the last 5 to 10 years than it was when I was starting out. So I think there's a lot of upside. It just comes down to, again, those that are in power, so to speak, to think outside the box, go out your comfort level. Don't just hire from your same university alma mater or your same private school that you went to. There's other people out there that bring the exact same skill set and different experiences that I think will only help your company if you give that opportunity there.
Wow, thank you, Dexter.